Good morning. This is Pamela Bluewater for J&S Biblical Productions, August 26, 2018. For the regular viewers of our video series, we have always assumed that they belong to an organized major religion and believe in God. But this isn't necessarily so. We have with us today Reverend Emmanuel Goodfellow from the Church of the Blooming Rose and his adopted son, Grunt. Welcome to J&S. So I've heard the beginning of your story, but why don't you tell the audience how a boy begins life in a world without parents, a proper education, or a church to call his own?
Well, Grunt was born of divorced parents. One of them was an alcoholic, the other an adulteress. They decided to put him in an orphanage at the age of 4. It was called the Sisters of Mercy. It was an underfunded, rundown place, similar to one of those places from Charles Dickens' London of the 19th century. The headmaster used to teach the boys to steal oranges and cabbages from the farmer's market whenever the sisters of the orphanage didn't have enough donated food to feed all 80 of them. He was like Fagin from Dickens' Oliver Twist, who taught children to steal for him.
Oh, that's terrible, Reverend Goodfellow. I would like to get to Grunt's religious upbringing or moral training. That's what our viewers are most interested in.
Well, that was non-existent at the Sisters of Mercy. See, they believed in using the whip every day for punishments for everything imaginable to keep order with the children.
Wow. We are really interested in ethics training or Bible lessons and believe in the scriptures. What about that?
Ms. Bluewater, you need to understand something. We could force Bible lessons on 5 to 12-year-olds every day, but children learn best at first by examples. Now, I went to this orphanage, and the sight of dirty little boys and girls fighting with each other made me decide to want to take one of them out and adopt them into my own church. So, I picked Grunt.
Saved. Now what?
Well, I started not at first with heavy scriptures or doom and gloom prophets, but by giving him this little dog, Pansy here, so he could experience love and something to love. Then I read to him from Leviticus, chapter 19, verse 18, to start. Thou shalt not avenge nor bear any grudge against the children of thy people, but thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself. I am the Lord. Then I went on to a comparable verse from Matthew chapter 39, chapter 22, I beg your pardon, verses 39 to 40. And the second is like unto it, thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself. On these two commandments hang all the law and the prophets. Okay,
well, your story reminds me of David Copperfield by Charles Dickens, whose parents died, and he was brought up by his stepfather, Mr. Murdstone.
Similar, but with a happier ending. Now, Grunt here has decided to study to become a minister. See, he went from experiencing love for his puppy dog to experiencing love for God and for Jesus.
Reverend Goodfellow, I like your story, but for different reasons. The world we live in is filled with mixed messages. To begin with, we have leaders and politicians who teach, for example, lying, cheating, bank fraud, tax evasion, adultery, promiscuity, racial hatred, bigotry, and they want to solve gun violence with bigger guns. In fact, the other day, I actually bought a gun to protect myself from violence here in the studio. Let me show you.
No, Miss Sedgway, that's not necessary. Take that away.
Now, part of what Miss Sedgway said is true. We live in a world of uncertainty and mixed messages. Exposure to drinking, drugs, both legal and illegal, and smoking is at everyone's fingertips. The internet sells underage prostitutes all over the world at the click of a button with impunity. Real guidance doesn't come from parents or from teachers. It comes from God's wisdom that we get from reading the Bible and from going to a good church. Everyone needs a real solid foundation.
Reverend Goodfellow, you couldn't say it any better. Let's all communicate with God more. This is Pamela Bluewater with J&S Biblical Productions saying we can all spread the gospel and the Word of God. Good morning.
What are your thoughts on today's story? We'd like to know. So, leave a comment and subscribe to our channel, J&S Authentic Biblical Productions. Whether it's the Word of God through parables, true stories illustrating parables, or true stories in the life of Jesus Christ with commentary, you can see them all by subscribing to the most comprehensive collection of videos of biblical stories for you and your family. Have a blessed day.